My name is Gary Goldbranson, and it's an honor for me to share some thoughts with you as family and friends. I have been a friend and pastor to some of Michael's extended family over the years in our time in Seattle, and my wife and I now reside in Sun City, Palm Desert. We were invited to come and serve as psychologist and pastor to a growing community in that community. I have deeply appreciated getting to know Michael through the eyes of the people who he cared most about in this life. Those who have shared with me verbally and have also written about their relationship. I love multi-layered and multifaceted people, and I discovered that that was a good description of Michael. What an incredible combination of creative interests and talents and adventures and characteristics that were also interwoven in some very difficult times and troubling circumstances. As I read through his amazing list of interests and accomplishments, I particularly appreciated reading that following a sailing voyage, he entered a very meaningful season of his life. It included regularly attending St. Luke's Episcopal Church. And as I thought about Michael in that season, it dawned on me that time at St. Luke's, he would have heard encouraging words from the Bible. He would have heard very familiar words that some of you have heard along the way as well. The words were written hundreds of years ago by a shepherd king by the name of David, and he recorded them as Psalm 23, and most of you, regardless of your religious background, know what this psalm is all about. So I thought that I would start by sharing some of those words with you, just setting a context for the other things we're going to talk about today. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. What the psalmist was saying is that we need to take God's provision very seriously in our lives. And he is willing to give us exactly what we need when we need it. That's part of what the psalmist had experienced throughout his relationship with God. He leads me in paths of righteousness for his name's sake. And yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies, and my cup overflows. What the psalmist was also saying that not only should we take his provision seriously in our lives, but we should take his presence seriously. And he's there for us to discover and to interact with if we want to. And it seems to me that at that particular time in Michael's life, he was willing to do that. So we need to take his provision seriously. We need to take his presence seriously. And then the psalmist ends this little psalm by saying this: surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. A third area where God is active in our lives, he asks us to take not only his provision and his presence seriously, but also his promises. And his promises include both quantity of life and quality of life. The two things go hand in hand, and I think Michael experienced both of those. So I wanted to share some of the facts about Michael's life. As I've already indicated, he had quite a list of accomplishments along the way. He did a lot of interesting things, and a lot of you were participants in that. So Michael Brewer Clow, age 72 of Palm Springs, California, passed away peacefully in his home on Thursday, February the 5th, 2026. Born on April the 11th of 1953 in Chicago, Illinois, Michael was the son of the late Harry Beach Clow Jr. and Lenore Cudahy Clow. He lived a life of generosity, warmth, and creativity, and deep affection for those that he loved. From an early age, Michael embraced both discipline and creativity. In high school, he was a dedicated member of the swim team and participated in the joint drama club productions of Lake Forest Academy and Ferry Hall. He starred in numerous plays, bringing charisma and heart to the stage while lending his voice to the choir. So evidently he loved music and he could sing. His love of language and culture was evident in his favorite subject, which is French, a class in which he consistently excelled. I took 1 year of high school French, and I only took it because the cheerleaders did. But I paid attention the whole time, so I got an A. He was also an avid tennis player and cherished annual spring break trips to ski trips to Vail, Colorado. Michael's adventurous spirit shaped much of his life. One summer he worked on the Strang Ranch in Aspen, Colorado, an experience he considered one of the most special of his life. He sailed both the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans, with his longest voyage being the 1987 passage from Hawaii to San Francisco. And that's a long ways on the map, folks. He pursued higher education at Carroll College in Waukesha, Wisconsin, before translating to Marquette University in Milwaukee, where he earned his Bachelor of Arts degree in psychology. After graduation, he worked for the Hyatt Regency Hotel Corporation in Milwaukee for 5 years, gaining experience that would shape his future career. In 1982, Michael, along with his former wife, Susan J. Parker, became the youngest bed and breakfast innkeepers in the state of California. They established and operated the Foothills House from 1982 to 1992, creating a beautiful and welcoming retreat for travelers. His leadership extended throughout the Napa Valley hospitality community. He served as president of the Napa Valley Bed and Breakfast Association from 1983 to 1990, and was a founding member of the Bed and Breakfast Innkeepers of California. His commitment to excellence and service helped elevate the industry across the region. And I can imagine the hundreds of people who enjoyed that hospitality because Michael paid attention to the details. Following his 1987 sailing voyage, Michael entered a particularly meaningful season of life devoted to his family. During that time, he was deeply attentive, and I love this part because that's the side of the street I work. During that time, he was deeply attentive and a loving father. He regularly attended St. Luke's Episcopal Church and helped organize the church's annual crab feed fundraiser. He volunteered as a parent helper at his children's preschools and elementary schools, always eager to be present and involved. An avid gardener, Michael took great pride in working with landscape designers to cultivate the lush and welcoming grounds of the Foothill House, creating an environment of beauty and peace for guests and family alike. He seemed to have that ability to embrace creativity wherever it needed to be experienced. In 2000, Michael moved to Palm Springs, California, a place that felt like both an adventure and a homecoming. Drawn to the warmth of the desert sun, and it's pretty warm today, isn't it? Drawn to the warmth of the desert sun and the vibrant gay community, he embraced a chapter of life filled with authenticity, friendship, and celebration. He loved the desert's endless blue skies, dramatic mountainscapes, and warm evenings that invited connection and conversation. Palm Springs offered the culture, nightlife, and spirited energy that he enjoyed so much. Evenings spent dancing, laughing with friends, savoring the unique blend of glamour and ease that defines the desert. And you look at that picture and you can imagine him doing all those things, can't you? Michael's adventurous heart continued to lead him far beyond California. He traveled with friends and partners, always eager to explore new cultures and landscapes. His favorite journeys including a cruise to Egypt to stand in awe before the pyramids, travels through Greece and along the Mediterranean Sea, and sun-soaked escapes to Key West and Acapulco. Whether crossing oceans or simply gathering with friends under the desert stars, Michael embraced life fully. Palm Springs became not just a residence, but a place where he celebrated freedom, friendship, and the joys of being alive. Michael is survived by his daughter and son-in-law, Lexi and Josh Clayton of New Braunfels, Texas, and his 4 beloved grandchildren. His son and daughter-in-law, Eric and Nicole Clow of Austin, Texas, and his 3 siblings and their families. He also is remembered with love by many extended family members and dear friends who will miss him deeply. Michael will be remembered for his adventurous spirit, his love of the arts and sea, his gift for hospitality, and above all, his devotion to family. The beauty he cultivated in gardens and community and the lives he loved remains his enduring legacy. And those are things that we want to remember and to hold on to, shaping our memories in the days ahead. It was mentioned that one of the most important things to Michael throughout his life was his devotion to his family. And you're going to hear from a little bit of the family right now. Son Eric couldn't be here physically, but he's going to be here vocally. And he's going to share a little bit of some things that he wrote about his relationship with his dad. And he's going to be helped out by son-in-law Josh if he needs to. But Eric, that's all yours.
Okay. Hey everyone, it's Eric. I'm calling in from Austin, Texas, where I live. Can everyone hear me okay? Is it not going?
It's going. You're good.
Eric, yeah.
Did they hear the first part of that, or did I start again?
You're good.
Okay, all right. I'm just take from the top. Our Father, okay. Our Father lived a full life, a life of wonder and adventure, of love and generosity, a life of tenderness and humor. When he was a good dad, he was the best dad. And when he was sweet, he was the sweetest. I have been a writer for years, but writing a eulogy for my dad is the hardest thing I have ever had to write. But I know he would want me to write this, and I know he would expect no less than brilliance. When I was a kid, my dad felt so alive. I remember he typed up and pinned to my wall a list of life mottos. Sadly, I had forgotten most of them, but the one I remember is live each day to the fullest. I remember it not because it was some profound truth I've always lived by. I remember it because of how deeply my father embodied it. This was a man who crossed half the Pacific Ocean in a sailboat, braving that vast sea and all its vicious storms to pass triumphantly beneath the Golden Gate Bridge. The voyage from Hawaii was supposed to take 2 weeks, but with the weather, it took 3. This was a man who beheld the pyramids, who danced till dawn, a man who leapt into the ocean in the middle of the night. And why? Because he could. Because he wanted to soak up all that this life has to offer. This was a man who strove toward his dreams, however improbable. When he was passionate about something, he poured his whole being into it. He ran one of California's most successful bed and breakfasts. He designed and remodeled homes, always sure to crane in a few palm trees. He wanted to be a father who always told his kids how much he loved them and how proud he was of them. A father who hugged his children tightly, who nuzzled his stubbled jaws against our cheeks. Our childhood was imbued with the same sense of adventure that marked Dad's own life. Every New Year's we were off to some new tropical destination, Hawaii, Mexico, the Caribbean. We snorkeled, we swam with stingrays, we boogie boarded. We were almost blown off our feet by the gales of Maui's North Shore, where surfers faced 50-foot waves. Those fearless big wave surfers adorned my walls for many years afterward. We once took a helicopter tour to see the waterfall from Jurassic Park, but instead of marveling at the natural wonders, I vomited into a paper bag. Dad felt so bad, he made sure to keep our next adventure a little closer to the ground. So many memories took place in his cars. He loved convertibles, Jeep Wranglers, stick shifts. The first car I ever drove was his Chrysler LeBaron on a state park road near Bodega Bay. We explored the site from Hitchcock's The Birds, then Dad pulled over so I could take the wheel. I was 14. He rented Jeep Wrangler whenever we traveled to Hawaii, and we'd get it as dirty as we could before the end of the trip. We'd four-wheel it down mucky back roads, steering for every mud-filled pothole. One puddle was a lot deeper than we thought, and when we hit it, the whole right side of the Jeep plunged downwards, drenching the windshield with mud. I was laughing so hard, I had to pull over. Our father had such style. He was charming and wickedly handsome. He rocked necklaces, earrings, and bracelets. He had a flair for fashion and fabulous taste in music. I have many memories just riding beside him, the wind in our hair, music pulsing through the stereo. Think Fleetwood Mac and Pet Shop Boys. Depeche Mode, and Cher. Of course, no eulogy for Dad would be complete without mentioning his sexuality. I found out my dad was gay when I was 10 years old. I summoned the courage one evening to ask him, "Dad, are you gay?" "Yes." "Who are you gay with?" "I'm not gay with anybody." I must have looked confused because Dad went on to explain, "You don't have to be gay with someone to be gay. You can just be gay." I embraced my dad's sexuality and all the lessons it taught me, and we bonded over our shared experience of being different. I was born in a world that wasn't designed for my body, and he was born in a world that marginalized people who are gay. And yet we found community. We forged lives of authenticity. We pursued our dreams despite the obstacles. A few years later, Dad took me to the first drag bar, or my first drag bar, rather, lit in San Diego. He told the staff it was my birthday, even though it wasn't, because the drag queens were known to swoop in and serenade the guests of honor. But for me, they had something a little different in mind. They announced to the restaurant that it was my birthday. Then they pulled me onto the stage, put a blonde wig on my head, and demanded I sing "Oops, I Did It Again" by Britney Spears. My dad was mortified. He felt so guilty. But I rolled with it, singing the lyrics I could remember, and I think I made those drag queens proud. Dad loved to tell that story, always emphasizing the guilt he felt. He'd say, "I tried to do something nice for my kid and it backfired." I still think, though, that that's one of the funniest moments from my childhood. Our dad managed to raise some damn fine children. My sister and I have beautiful, loving partners. My sister has 4 wonderful children, and I have 3 rowdy yet affectionate dogs. We surround ourselves with the kindest, most genuine friends. Our hearts are open, warm, and generous. We are our Father's children. We carry the best parts of Him. And that deep, unconditional love He showed us, it emanates now from us. I love you, Dad. Thank you, everyone.
Very well stated, Eric, and we're glad that you could get through that, because I'm pretty sure that I couldn't, even if I were reading the words that you put down on the page. Michael not only had a heart big enough to embrace his children throughout the years, but he also embraced a number of you as friends. And I know a friend, Willie, is going to come at this time and read a poem that he's written. Willie, if you can come up here and use the microphone, all right?
This is how you know how old I am. 'Cause I Yes, my name is Willie, and Michael and I have been friends for 52 years. So it's a long time to have a friendship, a loving relationship, and we got along well, had our ups and downs, but we're still there. And like he told me the Friday before he passed away, I love you unconditionally. I found this poem that he had in one of his favorite albums. The author is unknown, and it's entitled, "What Really Matters." My parents asked if I'm gay. I said, "Does it matter?" They said, "Not really." I told them, yes, I'm gay. They said, get out of our lives. I guess it mattered. My boss asked, are you gay? I said, does it matter? My boss said, not really. I told my boss, yes, I'm gay. My boss said, you're fired, queer. I guess it mattered. My friend asked if I'm gay. I said, does it matter? My friend said, no, not really. I told my friend, yes, I'm gay. My friend said, don't call me friend. I guess it mattered. My lover asked, do you love me? I said, does it matter? My lover said, yes. I told my lover, yes, I love you. My lover said, hold me in your arms. For the first time, something in my life matters. God asked, do you love yourself? I said, does it matter? God said, yes. I said, how can I love myself if I'm gay? God said, because that is the way I made you. Nothing else will ever matter again.
Thank you, Lord. Straight from the heart. Things that you've wrestled with in very real ways over the years, and obviously Michael did as well. I mentioned in Michael's obituary that he was drawn to the arts very early in his life experience. Part of that was music. And music took on particular significance in the way that it bonded his family together. And there's a song that we're going to play right now that speaks to the bond that Lexi and Eric enjoyed with their dad, and something that was important to them over the years. And then Lexi's going to come and share her her response to that song in her life. So listen carefully.
this way. Didn't get to tell him all the things I had to say. Think I caught his spirit later that same year. I'm sure I heard his echo in my baby's newborn tears. I just wish I could have told him in the living years. Say, say it loud. Say it, oh, say
Okay, so there are lots of memories that Eric and I have where my dad would play this song, or if it happened to come on the radio back in the 80s and 90s, that he would turn it up and make us listen to the lyrics, and then he would tell us, this is why it's so important to tell, this is why I tell you I will love you always and forever, that there's nothing that you guys can do that can jeopardize that. I love you and I'm proud of you. And he was always very thoughtful and giving with his words. So it was when Eric and I knew that that the end was close, I thought, okay, I'm gonna fly in, and the first thing I do when I get there is I'm gonna play this song for him. And I was just thinking about it, and thankfully early the next morning, Eric, always being the smarter sibling, he texted the song to Knox and said, will you please play this song for my dad and tell him that we are coming, that we want to be with him. So he faithfully played the song not just once, but over and over. And I think Eric and I both have a lot of peace that he knew that that was coming from us, that he knew that we loved him and that we knew how he felt about us. So what I wanted to share is just a little bit of some of the reflections that I've been having in the last few weeks. Okay. I wasn't there that morning when my father passed away, but I had already told him most of the things I had to say. I had told him that I loved him, not in passing, not in haste, but in the quiet, sacred moments we made sure not to waste. Because he taught us early that love is not implied. It must be spoken, given breath, not simply felt inside. He showed us how to tell someone, I am proud of who you are, how simple words can shape a life and carry it so far. He passed to us a legacy of wonder, wild and wide, of chasing dawns and climbing hills, or standing oceanside. He taught us to go searching for the marvels of this earth, to catch our breath at the starlight and remember what it's worth. He said creation is a gift, a treasure, not a claim, that we are only stewards of its fragile, sacred flame. Leave it better, he would say, than how you found it here. So we plant kindness like a forest, guarding what we hold dear. And now I see his legacy passed down onto the next. I didn't realize what he planted. His influence was so complex. But I see it clearly in my children every day, in the way they chase the water, in the games they play. In sails pulled tight against the wind, in arguments well spoken, in laughter over inside jokes where memories cannot be broken, in their love of endless ocean tides, in their awe of midnight skies, in the way they tilt their heads at constellations rising high. The things he loved are rooted deep within their growing years. For what they learned from me has his fingerprints through our cheers. He was always in our corner, often in the crowd, clapping just a little louder, smiling just as proud. He leaned in close to listen when we had news to share, as if no story told before could ever quite compare. His love was never measured, never rationed, never small. We received it and built our lives from there to make a better world for all. So though I wasn't there that morning when he slipped beyond our view, he left no words unspoken, no love we never knew. He gave us something stronger than the grief we feel today, a life that keeps on echoing in everything we say. And if I pass that lesson on, speak love while we are here. Cherish every blessing, hold family always near. Then in his absence, his voice will still remain. In every I am proud of you, in love that does not fade.
So you've heard the song, In the Growing Years, Mike and the Mechanics, right? I got that straight?
Yeah.
Well, that was my era, so I've listened to Mike and the Mechanics, but what you heard was Lexi's interpretation of that song and how it touched her life. And you did a great job. Eric, you did a great job, and your sister did a great job. So I wanted to share a couple of thoughts with you, just very briefly, and then I'll wrap it up. Goethe, the German philosopher, said it this way. He said, the things that matter the most should never be at the mercy of things that matter the least. And I think that part of the expression of Michael's life is that he had figured out along the way what mattered most to him. And he chose to live his life in that way. It wasn't a perfect life, but he chose the life that he lived. If you haven't chosen what we are living for, then we are living life by default, acting out the script handed to us by other people. Every so often it's good for us to refocus. Just as we get our vision checked by an eye doctor, we need another kind of vision checkup. So if Michael could speak to us today, I believe he would remind us to refocus our purpose for living. People throughout history have written purpose statements. One of my favorites was written by Jonathan Edwards, a fiery philosopher and theologian in the 1700s. I'm amazed at its relevance in 2026, and this is what he wrote. He said, I resolve to live with all my might while I do live. I've resolved never to lose one moment of time, but to improve it in the most profitable way that I can. I've resolved never to do anything out of revenge. I've resolved never to do anything that I would be afraid to do if it were the last day of my life. And so, friends, today I believe it would honor God and honor Michael's memory as well, if we all did a checkup of our purpose for living, and how we want to live out the days and years that we find ourselves experiencing. Finding meaning and purpose is perhaps the greatest human quest. It is a comfort, just like the Psalm 23 that we started with, to know that God does have a purpose for us, not to find a religion, but a real relationship, and then to pass it on to others. To pass that love on to others, to enjoy all the beauty and adventure in people and experiences that our life can offer to us. As we conclude, I believe the way we can continue to honor Michael would be to imitate the best of his characteristics. And I think this poem, Prayer, wraps it up very, very well. Stand together with me, will you please? Whatever our hands touch, we leave fingerprints. On the walls, on the furniture, on the doorknobs, on the dishes, on books. As we touch, we leave our identity. You got a bunch of little people at your house, or you had them along the way, and they left their fingerprints, didn't they? Oh God, wherever I go today, help me to leave heartprints. Heartprints of compassion, of understanding and love. Heartprints of kindness and genuine concern. God, send me out today to leave heartprints. And if someone should say, I felt your touch, may that person sense your love touching them through me. Amen. That concludes the service for today. I know you may want to greet family. You can do that. Take a couple moments here in this worship setting. But thank you for being here. It's very important that you were here to share the memories around Michael's life.